Hey everybody, Carol Garrison here with Carol's Creative Escape. Thank you so much for joining me for another Make It Monday. Today is Monday, July 29th, and I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me here today. I am excited to share with you tonight a new online exclusive product that will be available for you starting in August. And it is a fall leaf themed bundle, and I'm finding it kind of hard to put it together today just because we are, in the midst of some really hot weather, possible storms, humidity, that kind of stuff. But it really is a beautiful bundle, and I wanted to share with you what it looks like and that sort of thing so that you can incorporate it into your plans starting in August when you can place that order. So I hope everybody had a great week. It was just a busy work week for us here, and over the weekend, I did get to spend some time with the two grandkids, which was a lot of fun. Other than that, I can't say that there's a whole lot of excitement going on. So let's go ahead and just flip our camera over and get started on this card tonight. Just a moment, please. Pull it up here on my iPad just to make, I hate when that arm drops. Sorry, that's my camera stand starting to sink just a little bit. Let me double check where I'm at here, get cords and stuff out of the way. We're not doing so good on that tonight, are we here? Oh. All right, we'll play with that a little bit because I don't really want it being a shadow on my project today either. I think we've got it just a little bit. Let me slide that down. All right, I think we got it here. So great. I am going to just share with you bits and pieces as I move my fancy smancy camera stand out of the way here. Now that cord is right back where I don't want it. There we go. All right, I think I've got that taken care of now. So let me start by showing you the suite of products, and then I'll show you what it looks like all stamped and die cut. This is another one of those hybrid bundles. So it comes with the Changing Leaves, which is a photopolymer stamp set. It's 8 stamps. You've got these 3 leaf images, and then I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. You're amazing in every single way. Here for you, a little note to brighten your day. I really like that sentiment. It's kind of different, a little note to brighten your day. So these are fun stamps to get some really clear images with. It includes a hybrid embossing folder. So as you can see, there are 3 leaf images. You might be able to see these 3 leaf images are in here, and so they do come out embossed, and it includes this fabulous die which lines up here so you can cut and emboss and get the detail all at one time for these 3 leaves, and then you get these lovely leaves as an outside border as well. So that's one of the dies that comes with this, and then it also includes this long oval type shape, a shorter oval, a circle, and these 2 sentiments fit real nicely. Actually, these 3 into that circle. This one fits into the shorter one here, and then these 2 fit nicely into this one. So great for stamping out or die cutting those details. And then you also get some additional leaf die cut images as well. So let me show you what these look like, and we're actually going to use several of these in tonight's card. So here are the stamps. This one I had to play with a little bit. Depends on how heavy you ink it. I actually, even though it's photopolymer, found I was getting a better image if I didn't use that foam pad. And I also think a slightly drier ink pad than the one that I was using would be appropriate as well to get more of the openings to show on that. I couldn't have done it without you. There you go with all those sentiments. And then here are the die cut images, and I'm going to hold this up to my camera in the hopes that you can see the texture on the leaves. I think that's fabulous. And then each of these sentiment dies also have stitching around the outside, and they kind of pop up just a teeny bit. And then you've got these lovely leaf images as well. And then here is what that die looks like, just straight into the embossing folder. So lots of texture, lots of detail. I think this would be a great one to use with thick cardstock, just because it does go pretty deep when you're doing that. And then of course these are the 3 leaves here, here, and here that get die cut with the single die here. So that is the stamp set that I wanted to share with you. Tonight's project is going to be a little bit messy because I'm actually using watercolor paper. This was my sample, and I didn't get quite as much color on the leaves as I wanted to, but I did use watercolor paper. And I'm using, I call it the block coloring technique for lack of a better word. I think there are other names for it, but that is what I am going to stick with. I haven't got my inside piece put in here yet, but that is the card. So I'm using not only the die cut, but also that embossing folder. Here's a couple of those leaves, and then the sentiment on that as well. So let me show you how to make this card. It is very simple, but it does get a little messy, as I said. So I'm actually bringing back to you the glass mat that we had, which is now available again. And one of the cool things about this is it's a glass surface. So you can spread your ink on here and not worry about it staining or coming off. I'll just wipe it off when I'm all done here. And to do this technique, I am just going to add a few drops of crushed curry, pumpkin pie, and real red. And I didn't get as much red on my paper as I wanted to, so I am going to add a few more drops. And then I've just got one of our spritzers, and I'm spritzing it. I'm making it fairly wet because I want the color to spread. And then to mix it, I am just kind of rocking a little bit. That is not going as fast as I thought it would from when I did it earlier. So I'm going to add more right on top of those dots. So this is fairly wet. You're going to get several cards out of it. And then I'm just going to kind of spread it around in the hopes that I can get some of this color to mix. It's sort of an art board. You don't ever really know what you're going to get. Each card you create is going to be a little different. Now, if you don't have this glass studio mat, you could also do this on your large acrylic block. That part would be fine. I am actually going to grab a little piece of my scrap paper because, of course, when I did this before, everything was blending really nicely. And I'm just going to stir in my red just a little bit, and I'll get the rest of that spread in. And I'll grab one more piece of paper just to make sure, you know, actually the yellow I'm going to leave because I think that's going to create an interesting thing. And then I've got a piece here of the watercolor paper, and it measures 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I'm just going to drop it down. Wherever it lands, it's going to stay. Like I said, this is a messy project, so I'm going to recommend that you use a tissue to press this down. It just keeps some of the ink off your hands. Some. My hands are a little inky today, and that's all right. All right, so then you end up with this wonderful set of colors. Now, I prefer to let my paper like this dry naturally, just because it doesn't require the heat gun, which gets a little noisy on camera. I'm going to blot some of this up because I am very bravely going to set this on my floor, and I don't want the ink running onto my carpet. I'm going to grab one more piece of tissue here, and I'm just going to blot along the edges. So like I said, normally I would do this ahead of time so that it could be drying, but I want to be able to use this. So a quick cheating tip for you. Like I said, I'm cautious of putting that glass plate on the floor with all that ink. You can take your heat gun and just dry this. And what I like about this card is every one you make is going to be a little bit different. This is the most red I've gotten on the ones I have played with, and my others have had a little bit more yellow, but I like how this turned out. I think it's actually what I was envisioning when I started creating it. So one of the things that I'll do is just grab my heat tool and run it over to help dry the ink. And you can kind of see when it dries, it will curl, and then it should start flattening out. I do like to even come along the back here and sort of hit it from the back side. And you can see the color setting in. Oh, I really like how this turned out. All right, and that is all we need for this. That creates my background piece. And that is actually what I'm going to be using to die cut this leaf out. So when I say I didn't have as much color on here as I wanted, you can kind of get an idea of what I was looking for the first time. All right, the next thing that we're going to do then is take our cut and emboss machine and, oops, I gotta get it set up the right way for me. I will take plate number 1, and because I'm using the 3D embossing folder, I actually only need this plate, which is number 4. And I'm going to grab my embossing folder, and what I find works best for me when I'm using these hybrid folders is I am going to stick my die on first, and they go on the side that has that Stampin' Up logo on it. That's the side that the die would sit on so that the cutting edges are face down. And the only image I'm cutting out of here is this large leaf. So when I put my paper in here, that is what I'm going to be looking at. And what I found for this technique is it's helpful for me just to put my paper in and look at where I'm going with it, so I can kind of see the color that I'm using. And we're going to go there. We'll stick that in here, put our number 4 plate on top. That pop is always a terrifying sound the first time you hear it, but that's perfectly normal. And now we've got this lovely die cut leaf image. It is still just a teeny bit damp, so pieces are sticking a little bit more than they might normally. And it also, because I'm catching just edges of some of the leaves from the die, you're going to see it look a little bit different. But oh, look at the color on that. I'm so pleased with how that turned out. All right, then I'll give you the measurements for the rest of the card. I've done some pre-cutting already. I've got a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of crushed Cajun Craze, which even though I didn't use that color in my leaf, it still works. I've got the crushed curry, which I've cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and that just provides me with the background. Like I said, this leaf was cut on a piece of watercolor paper that was 3 3/4 by 5, which doesn't leave a lot of extra waste. I used scraps of old olive to die cut these leaf images. I used a scrap of basic white for the sentiment, and then just some twine to create a little bow. Then I've also got some scrap twine that I'm going to use to wrap around this layer before I adhere it. And I'm just going in a, I don't know how, oh good, I can go 3 times. It's always hit or miss how much I cut off. That tells me how many times I can go around. Sometimes I think with twine you need a little more. But we've got 3 pieces here, and then I'm just going to take my adhesive and I'm going to just run a little bit right on top of that because that holds it in place. And then we'll throw this piece back here. And again, I'm going to run a little bit of my tape runner over it to hold it in place. And then I'll add adhesive. I know some people with these detailed dies like to use the Tombow liquid glue, which is fine. I personally think our seal is sticky enough that if you don't happen to have that handy, that this part works just fine using the seal adhesive. Especially on this one, there's enough flat places. And I'm just shifting my twine around just a teeny bit to give it just a little bit of a dimension there. And then we will come in, and when I initially made this card, I did not pop this leaf up, but I think we're going to try this one by putting it up on dimensionals. So I'm going to put leaves on every, or leaves, I'm going to put dimensionals on every leaf. There we go. You know, and the fun thing with this set is I am making mine fall themed, but you could use shades of green and create, you know, a nice summery card. Just change up. We've got so many pretty shades of green now, you can change it up real quick with that. And then I've got my sentiment here that says thank you, so I'll use that to cover the stem. And again, I'm going to pop this one up on dimensionals just so that it sits on top of that stem. Whoops, make it straight, Carol. And then I kind of like to wait to put my accent pieces in until I sort of see how everything else falls out. On my first card, I used these 2 leaves. On this card, I think I'm actually just going to throw in this set of greenery right in that area. And actually, let me grab some mini dimensionals. Look at that, I've got 2 left right here. And we'll just slide that in right there, so it gives a little bit of color, makes it pop out, but doesn't detract from the rest of the card. And then on the inside, we are going to go ahead and I do usually keep inside pieces pre-cut. I just find it easier to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to the back of this card. So you can tell that in making this, the hardest part, and it's not hard, the time-consuming part is really doing that watercolor piece. And if you can do that ahead of time, let it dry, work on some other projects, come back to it to finish the project, or just be prepared to use your heat gun to dry things off. It'll work just fine. And then I am going to add, for a little detail on the inside here, a couple of these leaves. And I personally found it worked best to use my liquid glue, and I'm just creating little dots on the biggest pieces, or biggest spaces rather, of my card. And whenever you do this, I strongly recommend that you use one of these silicone mats underneath your project. I think if you recall last week, last week or the week before, I kind of laughed and said I was being a little bit brave by not using it. I regretted that because I spent a lot of time removing adhesive residue from my work surface here. And although these are supposed to be spread apart, it's nimble enough here that I can kind of fold and create a little bit of space. So that's how I can decorate the inside of that card. And as long as I've got my piece of paper here and an extra leaf, we're going to go ahead and do the inside of this card. So tomorrow, or no, August is when this set will be available, early August. The Earn Your Coupon code expires at the end of July, so you'll want to take advantage of that. And then let me tell you, I had an opportunity to preview the new holiday catalog, mini catalog that's coming out. I should say actually September to December mini catalog. Oh my gosh, are there some gorgeous stamps in there. I kind of thought, oh, I've got everything, I don't need more. Can't wait to be able to start placing orders for that. As a demonstrator, I can start that in August, so I can get them a little bit sooner. And oh, there were just some stunning sets in that, so keep an eye out for that one to go live on the website here. All right. That is the card for tonight. So you're always going to have a different look because you're never going to get the same appearance. Even if I were to stamp and create, you know, here's another piece of cardstock that the watercolor paper that I created, and that's going to give a whole different look even from this, definitely from that. So be prepared. You will have different colors every time you do it. But that's what makes it a unique project. I think this would be stunning using non-traditional leaf colors with a white background with this embossing folder. I think it would be cool if you embossed with it using the stamp and created this embossed image and die cut it out too. I just think there's a lot of possibilities with this. This is just the tip of the iceberg because it's the first time I've actually played with it today, and this was the card that I came up with. So let's see what the future brings for us on this card. Quick video tonight. I thank everybody for taking time to watch, whether you're doing it live or on replay. Either way, I appreciate it so much. Take care, everybody, and have a great week. Bye-bye.